I've got my sketchbook here. The other day I did this drawing when we were out in Chatham. What I've done is I've taken that drawing and I've printed it out from my iPhone, which I'm filming this with, or I'd show you that. And I'm going to sketch it out here and do a quick watercolor. So come along for the ride. So let's see here. I've made a couple of little marks down here already, just to get some proportions out, but I wanted to sketch it pretty quickly. I thought I would. I want this to be a very quick sketch. I'm using a mechanical pencil with a 0.3 millimeter lead in it. I do like my mechanical pencils. And I said I like them. No, it's not feeding me any leads here. So, there we go. I got some lead showing. Let's see, we got ourselves little portholes up here. I need to stop this so I'm not getting any lead out of my pencil here. I'll be right back. How exciting is this? Let's get some. I'm using a. Can you see this? Let me see. Let me get that in the light there. Using a 2H lead, and drop a couple of those down in there. Hopefully, it'll start feeding it back in. I've got a little drawer here. I keep my leads in. I keep various sizes. This is a back up in my cabinet. Put it in the right way. There we go. I'll put that up there. I think I'm gonna have to pull this lead out. Shake it down. See if we get another lead coming out. Supposed to do this. There we go. Now I got another lid coming out, so I can continue on with what I was doing here. Let's see here. Okay. So I've got the light up here like this. This goes up across. Got a spike on top, and it's got some sort of a weather instrument attached over here. Pretty cool looking lighthouse in Chatham. The Cape has a lot of very interesting lighthouses if you ever get out there. Now this is just going to be a dark area inside the light there like that. This is a pretty thin deck with a railing around it here. And we've got a bunch of braces. And just make some marks here like this. This is pretty dark over here. Comes down. I've got just a bit of a shadow that comes across like this down this side of it. Let's see, there's another porthole right in there. Yep, I got some bands across here. So, there's a flag, Coast Guard flag over here flying like this. And then this building comes into the lighthouse. It's got a nice overhang. These are very interesting shaped buildings. Got a double window in the middle there. There's another little shed down here. Like this. You can just barely see it. And then there's another shed here that's peeking out right there. I don't have this exactly right, but it's close. And there's a fence coming out over here. We'll extend that ground out. The bottom of that said shed is showing. And there's some sort of a base around the lighthouse here. This tree line over here. I'm going to widen that base just a little bit. And then right in the middle of this, there's a light in there. Okay, and then we've got, what have we got here? This is coming down about like this. Got the, take this roof line, kind of exaggerate that a bit more than it was. Take this down here like this. We got chimneys. These are nice, lovely chimneys. I got flares at the top of the chimney. One here in the back side. And then another one over on this side over here. And then this front of it, got a roof line that comes up like this. Like that. And then down over here. And Coast Guard signs here in the middle. This has got a nice big overhang on it. This is a wonderful looking building. So, some bushes along the edges here, just nice and easy like. Windows here, there's little teeny windows tucked up under both sides over here. Double windows in the front. Like that. Nice colonial door. And it's got central door, panes of glass on either side. Some steps that go down. Wonderful big hedges over here. Double window down here. See, there's a single window on each side here like this. This is pretty much the structure. And oops, keep breaking my lead. There's a great pine tree growing up over here. And it's got you can see the trunk coming down like this. I think I got that all in the wrong place, but you can see the trunk, but this is not going to show the trunk. Okay, we'll forget about that trunk. A little bit more of a pine tree over here, and then we've got, looks like probably some oaks back here. Just the branches, because it's still winter. We're not overly fond of the winter. The front of it over here has snow in the front yard. And this flagpole comes on down to about here. And there's a path straighter than this that goes out past the flagpole. Then there's some snow in there. And this is all hit in the sunshine. There's a base of it there like that. And that didn't take long at all. So I think it's ready to paint. But let's get some paint. So take my water bottle, which needs to be refilled, but activate my paints. Find a brush. Let's see. Probably want to start off with a flat. I got a big bucket of water over here, just out of your view. So let's get some. What do we got here? Oh, my colors are all dirty. I'm gonna clean them up a little bit here. What's that? There's an ultramarine. What's this one over here? Is that a phthalo? Oh, that's a beautiful blue. Now the sky. We take a look at this. This is what I'm going by. This is my picture. The sky was kind of a gray sky. I'm gonna blue that up, and I'm gonna make these shadows a bit sharper as well. So let's take some of this blue here and bring that blue in and go around that flag. And this is not the best paper for painting on. but it'll work. It'll work. Bring this blue down into the trees, leaving some of that flagpole white as well. There's a yard arm on that flagpole. The Coast Guard flag over there. Well, I missed it. We'll have to go back in with some gouache or something and put that flagpole back in. I'm going to bring this around that lighthouse. I'm going to take it in here, and it actually shows behind the windows there, behind the windows there. So we will take that, pick up some more of that color. Let's just get this going here. And we will leave that sky a little more cobalt. Throw a little more cobalt in there, and a little bit more of that phthalo, maybe, Prussian. Okay, and then we'll get some of this in here like this. Get it up away from that house. And I'm gonna isolate those chimneys because I want the red on those chimneys to be fairly bright. I'm gonna wash my brush out a little bit and just bring this down with a wash and thin that out just a little bit to lighten that a little bit. So we've got some interesting sky going on. Again, this is not the best paper in the world to work with. So I'm going to grab, while I got this blue here, I'm going to grab just a little bit of burnt umber, and that'll darken up my blue. I still want some blue in it, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this umber with a different brush, this umber blue, and I'm going to use this as the shadow for the lighthouse. So we'll take this across where the shadow comes down like this. I'm going to bring that down this side like this. Okay, I've also got some shadow back here on that barn, and some shadow in here. And this whole side of the house is in shadow. So we'll just put that right in right now. I'm just gonna make that as even as I can. I'm gonna let that Coast Guard sign, this Coast Guard sign above the door, and let that stay bright. Not too bad. And again, this is just a real quick sketch, just having a good time. The sketches that I did on location there were literally 5-6 minute sketches. So let's take some of this very light burnt umber, drop it in the background. Those would be some of our trees back there. See what we can do here. Drop this back there, be branches and trees that are undefined. That's working out pretty well. And this is drying up pretty fast. Not fast enough, never fast enough for me. I think what I'll do for the ground, I'll take that burnt umber, put some yellow ochre in there because there was mostly just bare grass on the ground. So we just put some of that in. Dead grass, not even green grass for us out there on the Cape. It was winter time. We'll let the snow stay. I do love my yellow ochre. It is just such a nice, versatile color to paint with. And put some of that in that yard there. So, starting to get some sunlight. What's going to make this lighthouse and the bright whites of the building look white is how dark you get the background. I used to say, wow, I just never get it bright enough. But it all depends on how dark you get the background. All right, I'm actually going to pick up a little bit of green and put that in my yellow ochre now. And I don't know if you can actually see this or not. Maybe you can. And I'm going to just add a hint of green so people know that's a yard. Or at least that I know that that's a yard. And we'll put a little bit right up in there. Wash that out. Get that brush. Doctor that and let that green get right in there just a little bit. Let it blend in. So while we have that green on our brush, I'm gonna, well, I've got, this is still way too wet over here, but I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this green and just get a start on this green in this tree. This is really a very deep green tree, but it's going to have highlights as well. So I'm going to take that right down the side of this building like this, and maybe put some of that over there because there's a lot of stuff going on back there. Let's see here. That blue really hurt that green. There we go. There's a nice deep green there. And what we want is a yellow ochre green, some sort of almost a dead green. I think we want to do this for these bushes here that are in front of the house. And they do have a little bit of sunlight on them, and we'll put a little bit of that green back in the woods over there as well. We'll take some of this over here, right above this fence. Get that out there like that. And actually, right in here, there's a couple of vans parked and everything else, but I think that would just kind of destroy everything. So rather than waiting for that to dry, just use my dryer and dry that up a bit. I'm very impatient, and I don't want this to take all day. Okay, so now let's go in, put some detail in that lighthouse. I'm going to go right back to that bright blue that we have. That is one brilliant blue, and I'm not sure what it is. I think it's a phthalo, although it's not acting like phthalo. Maybe it is. I'll put a little burnt umber in that. Let's get some ultramarine in there too. Yeah, that's a nice dark gray. And let's take that. I blew that up just a little bit more. Bring that into the blue spectrum, the cooler spectrum, because it is winter time. When you're mixing your darks, your blacks and stuff, you can go from warm to cool very easily just by changing the percentages of ultramarine and burnt umber or burnt sienna, whatever you're using. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put this roof in a light gray and give this lighthouse some shape here, like this. And the deck of it here comes across about like that. And now I need another brush. I'm going to get my liner brush and see what I can do with railings and bring these railings in here, because that has railings that are indeed visible. Weather instruments and the little spike on top. Not too bad, not too bad. And while I have this brush here, let's see what we can do to shape some of these. These are the supports that are up underneath. Bring that around. There's one there, one there, one there. There we go. Portholes, just indications of portholes. And actually right on these two, there was a seam here. A seam going across here. Actually, what I may do is erase some of these pencil lines later on. What do I got here? So, yeah, there's one just below this window here. Okay, well, I've got this nice gray there. This window is gray, and it's got some detail. We'll take that and drop this down here like this, and cross like that. Now I'm gonna take this and put a little bit more blue in there, just a little bit more blue. And I'll take that blue and put it in the middle. It just needs a little bit of color in there, like that. And let's see, what else will we do? Let's use this blue mix. Use this on these bushes here, just to show that there's some sunlight on hitting them. And it's coming across the top, and it's on the left-hand side there. These will be in the darkness over here. So that kind of helped those. There's a shadow underneath this roof line here, as there is here. And I think I'll even put a couple stripes along like this. So this is, I'm just trying to give you a little bit of my thinking at the time. We'll bring the shadow down that. Later on we will probably reinforce that with some white. I'm going to grab a little bit more blue. See what I can do to make that more blue. And just a little bit of gray in it. I wanted a dark blue, a navy, and that will be our American flag blue right up there. I generally shy away from painting flags because they have so much detail, but I think this one being a Coast Guard station is just going to be very helpful. And right on the Coast Guard flag, there's a little blue something right in there. Coast Guard flag has vertical stripes, so that'll add some color to it. Let's get some red for the roof, and the red for the roof is a very, very dark burgundy red. What I'm mixing up here, I don't know if you can see this or not. What I'm mixing up is cadmium medium red, or cad red, and a little bit of this blue mixture just to knock it back a bit. So see that? I'm not going to use this brush. This brush is way too thin. I'll use this brush, rinse it out a bit, and get in there like that. But just a little bit more in there, more red in there. We can always go back and darken it, but we can never lighten it up. Maybe I'll grab some of this alizarin crimson too. No, that's too much. Go back to here. There we go. That's getting pretty close now. Okay, so this will be roofs and chimneys and such. Okay, let's get the roof done first. So that brush is just probably a little bit wrong, but it's what I have out, so we'll attempt this. Get that right. You're saying, hey, stop talking. Well, that's because I'm doing real tedious stuff here. I want to get this as accurate as I can. And there we go. I think I hear Carol's up from her nap. So we're getting our Coast Guard station in good order here. And bring that a little darker over here. I think that's pretty good. We do have a little bit of a roof line right there. And then we have this roof line over here, which is doing that sort of angle. So, got some buildings there. Okay, so now, let's go back to this blue mix that we have here. And what I can see is up under here, I've got some little additional darkness under there. That's pretty good. I'm going to grab some of that same blue and put a little more cobalt into this blue. And what we'll do is touch these windows like this. There we go. And there's a really wonderful shadow right up under there. Shadows here. Thusly. Okay, we can take this and continue on here. I had a break there in the middle. Phone was ringing and I'm recording with the phone, so that made it interesting. Now let's see what we can do here. I'm going to try to put some stripes in this flag. We all know that the American flag starts with a red stripe at the top, ends with a red stripe at the bottom. And there are 2, 3, 4, 2, like that. And the Coast Guard vertical stripes like that. And then over on the left-hand side of this yard arm over here, and we'll get that yard arm and stuff in a bit. It looks like it was an MIA flag over here, which is a black flag. And so we'll just put that in lightly like that. The wind was blowing, it was whipping around out there. So let's see what we can do to get the rest of this put together. I'm going to, since the side of this house right here is in the sunlight, the windows on that side, I'm going to try to make it a little bit lighter, a little bit bluer. Get some of this turquoise in there, and maybe that'll lighten it up a bit. There we go. So we'll put these windows in here, about like that. That looks pretty good. And then we need to get our shadows back in here. What I didn't do, this is the next day. It did not soften up my paints, and they're biting me this morning. Let's take, there we go. Now we're getting a gray here. A little more of that blue in there too. And a little bit more burnt umber. Gray that up a bit. Get a little ultramarine in there. That's pretty good. I think what I want to do is, with this very liquid, what I want to do is darken up these shadows. There's some shadow up under there. Darken up that shadow there. Shadow up under this side. Up under here. Okay. This fence back here has some shadows on it. I think there's a window right in there. There's just a bit of a window showing right there. We'll drop that in like that. Let's put some detail in these windows here. Just adding bits and bobs here to give the example of some detail in there. All right, this, oh, that's too red. Kind of a warmish gray for that sidewalk coming down through there. And we just kind of mix everything together here and make some mud. Like this. And we'll put this sidewalk in that comes down like this. Through here. And then there's the base that goes around here like this. Across there, and that has a little bit of red brick in it. And we'll put just a spot of orange in there as well. Spread that out with a little bit of water and mix them together. So the snow does have a bit of a bluish cast to it, and there's snow in a couple of areas, so let's take, I'm gonna take my paper towel and just clean that out. I've got too much mud in there. Get all that cleaned out a little bit. Start fresh, okay. Get very, very light blue in there. That's good. And we'll take some of that light blue along in there. Put some shadows across there. Maybe that gives it the hint of blue. And we'll take now a little bit of burnt sienna, throw it into that blue there, gray that up a bit. And let's do some windows on either side of the door. The door windows here. A little bit of red in there. And maybe a little bit of orange in there too. Yeah. This color here, whatever this color might be, and put in these steps here. There's steps across the front. There's also a bit of a shadow on that sign. Shadow across the front. Some details. And okay, let's address those chimneys. Chimneys are much brighter than the, there we go. That's more like what I wanted for the chimneys. I'll take these chimneys. Those in about like that. We'll go back and readdress those once those dry. And now let's get a green going here. I'm going to go back and readdress these trees and such. So back here, I'm going to just put in a hint of the darkness that's on those trees back there. And then take some of this and thin this way the heck down. A little bit of blue to that. Make this really thin like this. And see what we can do about getting some more tree detail in back here, just with the side of the brush a little bit here, just to put some detail in back there. Like that. We'll take that same muddy color and add some of those oaks in back there. And now I'm going to add a bit of blue to this and darken this green up a bit. A little bit of brown in there, neutralize that. And then what I can do is I can start, whoa, brush is way too wet. So, dry it off a bit, pick it up a bit. And this tree has a very strong nature to it. I like its personality. It adds a nice, lovely background to it. And these darker colors in the background are really what's going to make our brights pop out in this. And take this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this dark value right down alongside the house here like this. A little sunlight down in there. And then over here, there's another one of these wonderful conifers that's very dark over here. I'll put that in. And I think what we need is, we need some darks over here as well, just to add some contrast against the side of that house there to make that house more brilliant in the sunshine. This tree doesn't exist, but let's put one of these in over here. That'll balance us out a bit. There we go. Take this and take this right down where the parking lot's actually full of cars back in here, but we'll just add some more trees in there. That looks pretty good. Go ahead and touch up the baseline here with these bushes so we know what's going on. There is something going on over here. but it is more in the sunlight. So, of course, I've made mud. Let's get some of this little bright yellow here. Let's do that. Get some bright yellow. Just put some sunlit bush right in there. I don't think it's actually there. We can put a hint of spring out in the yard. I think that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna get some more red, some of this alizarin crimson into this red here. I think what I'm gonna do, I'll dilute that down just a bit and put this on this roof over here. A little bit of attention to detail there. See what we can do to unify all that. Yeah. I think that's got it. Maybe lift a little bit of this. Okay, see what we can do to get that dried off. I'm just gonna dry this down a little bit. All right, so let's see, I'm gonna get a little bit more orangey red, a warmer red. Do the face of these. That works pretty well. And we're getting close to the end here, I think. Let's see, we need some text on the Coast Guard sign. I got a very dry brush here. And just put a couple of lines of text on there. And I think we've pretty well got it. Let's add a bottom half of a window or so over here. Some more shadow in there. Yeah, I think we got it. I think what I need to do now is, one of the whites that I like to use is this Pro White. I've used this for the past 50 years at least. Started using Pro White when I was in high school, so that's a number of years ago. And I'm gonna get my little fine liner brush here, and let's just take a look and see. There's a bowl on top of the flagpole up there. Drop that on. Flagpole comes down this way. Get some nice thick white here, hopefully. Flagpole comes down this way. I'll take it right across that tree line. About like that. Probably have to go over that. And there is a yard arm. Being the Coast Guard, they have deal with things like yard arms, I suppose. I think the problem is my sky is not dark enough. That helps a little bit. And we can go up here and drop in just a bit of a highlight on those. this. That might have been a bit too much, but it is what it is. There's also a little bit of a highlight on that. Let's lighten that up a bit. Need to bring that out, and I think that's just pretty much got it. Okay, my brush is clean. And we'll get that out of there so everybody can take a look at it. I think maybe I should have gone a bit darker on the sky to make everything pop out a bit more. Take my trusty pencil here. Well, let's get that drier. Otherwise, I'll just mess it up. And I think what I'll do is I'll just highlight some of that, shadow some of that yard arm there in the mast, just with the pencil. And there are lines going down the mast there. Put that in there like that. Let's add a little bit of detail here in this wall. Yeah. I think that works. I think that works. Okay, so today is February, I don't even know the date, 19th, 20th, 19th, 2026. This is U.S. Coast Guard Station, Chatham, Mass. Problem with that thin lead is it does break a lot. There we go. I'll scan that in and post up a, you know what it does need? Well, now that I've even signed it, I need to go back. I'm going to take a little bit of my white here, get a wet brush, take a little bit of my white, and mix it onto my palette here, and keep my brush clean again so I don't mix white paint in my other paints. Take a little bit of that blue and a little bit of burnt umber and mix it in with that white. I just need a bit of a light gray. It needs a little more umber. It needs a little more blue. Nah, I think I did it anyway. And mix it, there we go. That's the gray I want. And I think what I need to do is just, ooh, that was way too wet. See if I can pick some of that up. Just needs a bit of something going on in there. A little more detail. Well, maybe I screwed it up. We never know. It's typically the way I work is I mess it up in the last minute.